Hello, welcome. Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today in Unit 20, Economic, Social and Cultural Dimensions of Globalization. Let us start this lecture with the topic The Features of Present Day Globalization. Since the Second World War, there has been a deliberation selection of a more market-oriented approach by many countries and increased internationalization of economic activities. This tendency increased significantly in the early 1980s as industrialized countries such as the United States of America and the United Kingdom shifted towards more market coordination of economic activities. Former socialist countries which are involved in a transition to capitalism followed this trend in the early 1990s. During this period, there also has been a widespread adoption of export-oriented development strategy and trade liberation as a favored path to development all over the world, either by choice or under compulsion by the international financial institutions like the World Bank and IMF. This increased the pace of globalization to a great extent. As a result, there has been faster growth in world output during the past few decades compared to the former days. World trade has grown significantly more rapidly than world output, and the national economies have become more open and more closely integrated. International capital flows have grown even faster than international trade. Ideas, technologies, and cultural attributes are exchanged at a higher speed. Contemporary globalization has led to a greater volume of exchanges of goods and services, and it has led to a greater variety of things being exchanged. Many goods and services once non-traded now regularly enter the world market. For example, a Japanese architect may design a building in France. Marketing services may be transmitted from India to US or UK, etc. The advancement of information and communication technologies (ICTs) reduced the geographic distance significantly. Technologies such as the internet and the mobile phones make it possible for people to communicate anywhere around the globe instantly. This accelerated the growth and development of knowledge society. There have also been increased incidences of people migrating for work globally. There is a significant change in the relative power of the world organizations. During the current pace of globalization, on the one hand, and the international financial institutions such as IMF and World Bank, as well as WTO, an international organization to regulate global trade, become more powerful. On the other, global institutions that have focused on more human-centered interests such as United Nations and International Labour Organization have found their position relegated to the background and their power and effectiveness relatively diminished in the face of global changes. The more powerful institutions, IMF, World Bank, WTO, have pushed for increased use of markets and less government involvement in economies in order to achieve free flow of trade and investment of funds and less regulation by the national governments. The shift in power of the global institutions is reflected in all spheres of human life. The current process of globalization also resulted in the globalization of national policies and policy making mechanisms of national governments. National policies, including economic, social, cultural, and technological areas, which were till now under the jurisdiction of states and people within a country, have increasingly come under the influence of international agencies and the big private corporates. Under pressure from these international organizations, the national governments have had to restructure their economies that demand more thrust on free trade and less spending in social sector. They had to increase taxes or shrink government spending by reducing expenditure on social sector such as education, healthcare, sanitation, subsidies in housing, fuel, public distribution systems and transportation. The national governments had to dismantle the administered price mechanism applicable to essential commodities of mass consumption. The externalities associated with the globalization have also had a global impact on the environment. A new set of global bats have been produced for example, global warming, depletion of ozone layer, etc. The globalization process received additional impetus in India when she opened up her economy in early 1990s, following a major crisis that led to a foreign exchange crunch that dragged Indian economy close to defaulting on loans owned by international financial institutions. India adopted a new economic policy that included the elements of globalization, liberalization, and privatization. The two central components of these neoliberal policies adopted by the Indian government have been the liberalization of India's private sector and reform of the public sector. Globalization integrated the Indian economy with the global economy through reduction in import duties and export restrictions, promotion of foreign investments, and permission for free flow of foreign technology and skills, etc. Along with the easing in restriction on external trade, there has also been a removal of some internal restrictions on the movement of commodities. At the same time, there has been a considerable loosening of the existing governmental licensing system, especially on private sector firms, as well as the lifting of reservations for many products. The license permit Raj has become a buzzword of the past. The role of the Directorate General of Foreign Trade has been near non-existent and the near free flow of foreign goods and services has been permitted. The subsidies given to fertilizer and agriculture had to be drastically reduced or withdrawn. A drastic reduction was there in the allocation to poverty alleviation programs and health and education. At the same time, there has not only been an integration of production globally but also across the country internally. There has been rapid privatization of publicly owned companies of the state and community headed resources of hitherto reserved areas like banking and insurance. There has been deregulation of labor protection, leading to massive growth of contract labor and subcontracting. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.